I knew I shouldn't have looked over, but curiosity has a cruel sense of timing. There he was, Brent, my ex-husband, sitting across the auditorium with that smug half-smile that used to make me weak, now just made my stomach twist. His new wife, Madison, perched beside him like a perfectly poised mannequin. And then it happened. Just as Kaya stood up to walk to the stage, Brent leaned toward Madison and muttered, "She's just like her mom. Always second place." My heart dropped. I heard it, clear as day, every syllable soaked in contempt, aimed like a dart straight at me. Then Madison chuckled, a soft, syrupy kind of laugh, fake and mean all at once, and said, "Good thing her looks came from Dad." I froze. For a moment, it felt like the world went quiet, like the air itself got heavier. My hands, resting on my knees just seconds ago, clenched into tight fists in my lap. I could feel the heat rise up my neck, flushing my cheeks. My eyes darted toward Kaya. She was just stepping onto the stage. But then, she hesitated. She must have heard them. Her shoulders tensed. That confident spark she had just seconds ago, the one she practiced in the mirror with me the night before, it dimmed. Her head dipped slightly. Her lips pressed into a thin, trembling line. I wanted to scream. How dare they? In front of Kaya, on a night that meant everything to her? To us? I glanced back at Brent, who had already turned his attention to his phone, casually scrolling like he hadn't just shattered something precious. Madison was whispering to him, eyes twinkling with amusement. Their ease only made my skin crawl. Why did his words still hurt? After all these years, after the divorce, after raising Kaya on my own, after pulling myself out of the wreckage he left behind, why did a few snide words still feel like knives? Was it because deep down I'd spent years believing him, that I wasn't enough, that I'd always come in second? I swallowed hard, trying to focus on Kaya again. She stood there, holding a slim envelope in her hands, blinking quickly like she was trying to shake the sting of tears. I knew that look. I had worn that same expression the day he left. My chest tightened. I wanted to stand up, to yell across the gym, to demand they apologize, to protect my daughter like I always had. But something held me back. A whisper in my head told me, "Not yet. Let her have this moment." But oh God, was it ruined already? The auditorium was packed, buzzing with applause and camera flashes, but for me, it felt like we were trapped in a snow globe, muffled, distant, suffocating. Kaya's voice came over the microphone, shaky but clear. "This isn't the real award," she said softly. "That comes later tonight." The crowd quieted. A few confused murmurs echoed from the bleachers. I felt my breath catch. My mom, sitting beside me, leaned in with furrowed brows. "What's she talking about?" I don't know," I whispered. My son, Leo, sitting on the other side of me, tugged at my sleeve. "Is Kaya okay, Mom?" I nodded, but I wasn't sure I believed it. My fingers were numb, my pulse pounding in my ears. Something was happening. Something Kaya hadn't told me about. And as she stepped back from the podium and walked off stage, face unreadable, the room settled into an uneasy quiet. Brent smirked. Madison whispered something else. I couldn't hear it this time, but I didn't need to. The damage was done, or so I thought, because what came next, no one in that room was prepared for, not even me. The night had started out so beautifully. The gym at Willow Creek High was glowing, literally. String lights hung in lazy arcs across the ceiling, casting a soft golden hue over the rows of folding chairs. There were blue and gold banners taped to the walls, each one fluttering slightly from the whir of the overhead fans. Parents milled about in heels and ties, murmuring small talk and snapping photos at every opportunity. The kind of night where hope hung in the air, thick and electric. I had picked out Kaya's dress weeks ago, a deep green satin that complemented her hazel eyes and made her look, not like a kid, but like a young woman stepping into her own. She didn't like flashy things, never had. But tonight, she'd let me curl her hair and dab on a little mascara, just a touch. "So I don't look 12, she'd joked, rolling her eyes. "My baby, 17 going on 30. As we entered the gym, my heart swelled. For a moment, it wasn't about the years of struggle, the silent dinners, the empty bank account. the tears she thought I didn't hear from behind her bedroom door. It was just her, Kaya. The girl who stayed up past midnight studying, who read college essays aloud to our dog Scout for feedback. The girl who chose quiet determination over shortcuts. I was so proud I could barely breathe. My mom, Ruth, had driven up from 3 towns over to be here. She sat next to me in her Sunday best, navy pantsuit, gold pin on her lapel, gripping her purse like it held the secrets of the universe. She kept patting my knee and whispering, "She's going to do amazing. Just wait." On my other side, Leo, my 14-year-old, was fidgeting with his hoodie strings, pretending not to be excited. But I saw his eyes follow Kaya like a shadow. He idolized her, always had. We took our seats about 6 rows from the front. The school orchestra started tuning their instruments in the corner. The buzz of anticipation was almost tangible, like we were all waiting for something magic to happen. And honestly, I believed it would, until I looked across the gym and saw them. Brent and Madison. I hadn't seen Brent in nearly a year, not since Kaya's birthday, when he stopped by with a half-hearted card and a Starbucks gift card. He looked good. Annoyingly good. Pressed shirt, clean shave, that same confident slouch he used to have when we were younger. Back when I thought that kind of charm was strength. Madison was practically glowing. Blonde hair, perfectly styled, heels too high for a school gym, and a laugh that cut through the noise like a bell. They looked rehearsed, like they belonged on a reality show called Divorced Dad Tries Too Hard. I sucked in a breath and looked away. Tonight wasn't about them. It wasn't about me either. It was about Kaya, her moment, her stage. But no matter how many times I told myself that, a familiar knot twisted in my stomach. It always came when Brent was near. This mix of shame, anger, and something I hated admitting. Insecurity. He had moved on, fast, built a new life with granite countertops and Instagram smiles. And I was still renting a 2-bedroom apartment and eating cereal for dinner some nights to make sure Kaya could afford test prep. Still, I forced a smile as Kaya turned around and gave me a little wave from her seat at the front. She looked confident, ready. If only I had known how quickly that would change. If only I had known what Brent was about to say, and what it would trigger in all of us. But that's the thing about nights like this. You never expect the moment everything shifts. You just feel it, like a cold wind sneaking in through a door you thought was closed. It happened fast, the kind of moment that unravels you before you realize you're even fraying. Kaya's name was called for her first award, Outstanding Academic Excellence. The crowd applauded politely. It wasn't the big one, not yet, but I still clapped like it was the Nobel Prize. She stood from her seat in the front row, her back straight, dress smooth, and hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She looked so calm, so herself. That beautiful, quiet confidence I'd seen so many times before, when she aced her AP Chem exam, when she gave her presentation on coral reef bleaching, even when she read her college acceptance letter and barely cracked a smile. That was Kaya, grace under pressure. And then I heard it. Brent leaned sideways, not even whispering, just low enough to avoid being picked up by anyone but the people around him, and said to Madison, "She's just like her mom, always second place." The words hit me like an open-handed slap, a dull, burning sting. I couldn't breathe for a second. Madison laughed, soft, breathy, cruel. Good thing her looks came from Dad. My jaw clenched, my fists curled on instinct. My fingernails dug into my palms, but I barely felt it. Every sound in the gym dulled. The applause, the distant rustle of chairs, even the announcer's voice faded under the weight of those 2 sentences. Kaya was already walking toward the stage, but something in her gait shifted. Her steps faltered for half a second. Her head turned, just slightly, toward where her father sat. She heard them. I knew she did. Her back stiffened. Her shoulders, usually relaxed and fluid, tensed like she was bracing against wind. When she reached the podium and turned to face the crowd, I saw it in her eyes. She was blinking too fast, just like I used to when I was trying not to cry in public. My chest ached. I wanted to run to her to tell her it didn't matter, that they didn't matter. I wanted to shout at Brent across the room, tell him how disgusting he was. How dare he try to ruin this for her, for us. But I didn't move. I couldn't. I was frozen by fury, by heartbreak. Why? Why now? Was his ego so fragile he couldn't let her have even this moment? I looked at him, at Brent, and he was already checking his phone. Bored, detached, as if this whole night was just another chore. And Madison, she was fixing her lip gloss in a compact mirror, like she hadn't just chipped at something sacred. Kaya took the certificate from the presenter with a small nod. No smile, no eye contact. She turned to the mic, cleared her throat, and said quietly, "This isn't the real award. That comes later tonight." The entire gym paused. A few people laughed awkwardly. Others exchanged glances. The principal tilted his head, confused. But Kaya didn't explain. She just stepped down, walked back to her seat, and sat down with her chin held high. Even from 6 rows back, I could tell her hands were trembling. Grandma Ruth leaned toward me. "Is she okay?" I don't know," I whispered. Leo looked up at me, wide-eyed. She sounded mad. "Is she mad?" I didn't answer. My mind was racing. Something had cracked in Kaya, but it hadn't broken. It had shifted. And as I glanced at Brent, who smirked like he'd won something, I realized something else. He had no idea what he'd just set in motion, and neither did I. Not yet. Kaya didn't say another word after she sat down. She just folded the certificate in half, not out of disrespect, but like she didn't care about it. Like it was nothing compared to what she was really waiting for. I couldn't stop watching her. She wasn't blinking much now, just staring straight ahead, her posture stiff and focused, like she was holding something inside. Something heavy. And the only thing keeping it from spilling over was sheer will. My mother reached for my hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "Let her handle this," she whispered. "She's her mother's daughter." I swallowed the knot in my throat. I wasn't sure what that meant anymore. If being like me meant being silent, taking the hits, walking away from confrontation and pretending it didn't crush you until you were alone in the dark. But something about Kaya felt different. There was a quiet storm brewing behind those eyes. And then the room shifted. The principal stepped forward with a thick manila envelope and tapped the microphone. "All right, everyone, we're now at our top honor of the night. This award goes to the student with the highest cumulative GPA in the senior class, someone who has demonstrated academic excellence, leadership, and extraordinary resilience." He smiled, not just politely, but warmly, genuinely. "This year's valedictorian is Kaya Ward." The room froze. No applause, no movement. Even the air seemed to stop. I didn't move either. I couldn't. I looked over at Kaya, expecting surprise, maybe a slow smile or tears, but she didn't react at all. Not at first. She stood up slowly, gracefully, as if she had been waiting for this exact moment, like she had known it all along. As she walked back toward the stage, I noticed something subtle, but powerful. The way she adjusted her shoulders, taller, firmer, like someone stepping into armor, each step louder than the last, echoing against the gym floor. Brent sat forward, blinking in disbelief. Madison tilted her head, confused. It was the first time all night she wasn't smiling. Kaya took the envelope and stood at the microphone. She didn't look at me. She looked directly at her father. The silence was thick. Even the babies in the back of the gym had gone quiet. You could hear someone cough in the 3rd row. That's how still it was. And then she spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, like steel wrapped in silk. "People have told me my whole life that I'd always be second best." She paused. Let it sit there. That I'd never quite measure up. That I wasn't enough. Not smart enough. Not pretty enough. Not important enough. The crowd was frozen. I heard the principal shift on his feet. Even Leo leaned in, his breath shallow. Kaya continued, "But my mom, she never told me I was better than anyone else. She told me to work. She told me to listen, to keep going, even when the people who should have believed in me were the first to doubt me." Brent shifted in his chair. His face had gone pale. Kaya's voice didn't crack, not once. "So tonight I'm standing here not because I was louder or because I wanted revenge. I'm standing here because I earned it, because my mom showed me how to rise, quietly but completely." Her eyes flicked to me just for a second. "I'm valedictorian, and I'm proud to be my mother's daughter." The room didn't cheer yet. It couldn't. We were all too stunned. But something had changed. In me, in her, in everyone watching. Kaya had just taken back her story, and she did it with fire in her veins, and my last name on her lips. The moment hung in the air like a breath no one dared release. Kaya stood there, still holding the microphone, her chin lifted ever so slightly. It wasn't arrogance. It was something stronger than that. Clarity. She had just told a room full of people, her father included, who she really was. No filters, no apologies, and no one had anything to say. Not even Brent. I turned to look at him. He was sitting stiff, one hand gripping his thigh, his jaw tight. His eyes weren't on Kaya anymore. They were somewhere else, like he'd just seen a version of her he never expected, maybe never wanted to see. The strong one. The one who didn't need him. Next to him, Madison was frozen, lips parted just slightly. Her face was unreadable. For the first time since I'd known her, there wasn't a trace of that smug confidence she wore like perfume. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. She just stared at Kaya like she couldn't believe a teenager had just dropped a truth bomb on the entire gym and walked away without flinching. And me? I felt like I couldn't move. My heart was pounding so hard it echoed in my ears. My eyes burned, but I didn't dare blink yet. I didn't want to miss a single second of her, because Kaya, my Kaya, was glowing. The applause came slowly, starting from somewhere in the back. A few scattered claps, then a ripple. Then it exploded. A standing ovation that roared through the gym like a wave crashing against silence. I stood too. I didn't even realize I had until my chair scraped backward. Tears finally spilled down my cheeks. Not the kind that sting, but the kind that wash something away. Years of doubt, years of guilt. The voice that used to whisper, "You're not enough. You failed her." Gone. She was more than okay. She was unshakable. Grandma Ruth was clapping so hard her pin fell off. Leo stood on his seat and cheered, face red with excitement. The principal gave Kaya a handshake, but even he looked overwhelmed, like he wasn't sure whether to congratulate her or offer her a job on the spot. Kaya didn't soak in the attention. She didn't smile for cameras or pose. She stepped off the stage the same way she'd walked on, quietly, purposefully, with grace. She walked straight to me. I was already crying, trying to collect myself, but when she wrapped her arms around me, everything just cracked open. She whispered, "Did I go too far?" I shook my head, still crying. "No, baby, you didn't go far enough." We hugged for a long time, right there in the aisle, people still clapping around us, and then, as the noise settled, I felt a presence nearby. I turned my head. Brent had stood up. His hands were in his pockets, and he was looking at Kaya like he wanted to say something. Like maybe he finally saw her for who she was, not who he thought she should be. But before he could open his mouth, Kaya turned her head just slightly and said, without looking at him, "Don't ruin this." It wasn't mean. It was honest, and he stopped. He nodded, just once, and sat back down. Madison leaned toward him to whisper something, but he didn't respond. Kaya took my hand. We walked back to our seats like nothing had happened, like everything had happened, and for the first time in a very, very long time, I felt whole. The drive home was mostly quiet, the kind of quiet that wasn't awkward, just peaceful, the kind where the storm had passed, but the wind still hummed in the background. Kaya sat in the passenger seat with the envelope clutched in her lap. She hadn't opened it yet. I think she just liked holding it. Not for the paper inside, but for what it meant. Leo was in the back seat, earbuds in, humming off-key and bouncing his knees like he couldn't shake the buzz of the night. Grandma Ruth had driven separately, but before she pulled out of the school parking lot, she rolled down her window and yelled, "Your mama raised a giant, Kaya." Kaya actually laughed. Not the little polite laugh she gave at school functions, but a real one, warm and unfiltered. I hadn't heard that sound in a while. When we finally got home, she followed me into the kitchen and leaned against the counter, still in her dress, still barefoot from the second we walked in the door. She was quiet for a minute, then said, "I heard him, you know, Dad." I didn't say anything right away. My instinct was to rush in with comfort, to shield her, but something told me to just listen. I heard everything. When he said I was like you, always second place. And when she laughed, I met her eyes. They weren't angry, just tired. Tired of pretending it didn't sting. It hurt, she admitted. Not because I believed it, but because he did. He really thinks I'm less because I'm like you. I nodded slowly. I used to think that too, I said quietly. She looked at me, surprised. I spent years wondering if maybe he was right, that I wasn't ambitious enough, not strong enough, that if I had been more beautiful, more assertive, more something, maybe he wouldn't have left. Maybe he would have respected me. Her face softened. But he was wrong. I know, I said. Now I know. She took a deep breath and smiled, the small, private kind. That speech wasn't just for him, Mom. It was for me. I needed to say it out loud. And I needed to hear it, I said, my voice catching in my throat. We stood in the kitchen a while longer, the hum of the refrigerator, the quiet creak of the floor beneath us. Everything felt still, settled. Kaya finally opened the envelope. Inside was the official letter naming her valedictorian, along with a full-ride scholarship offer from Stanford, something we didn't even know she was in the running for. She handed it to me. I want you to hold on to it. I wouldn't have gotten this without you. I held the letter like it was made of glass, but what she said next hit me harder than anything else that night. You showed me how to be strong without having to be loud, how to stay kind even when people don't deserve it, and how to stand up, not with fists, but with truth. Tears filled my eyes again. This time, I didn't fight them. That night, I watched her fall asleep on the couch with Leo curled up beside her, his head on her shoulder. The letter rested on the coffee table, a soft glow from the lamp hitting the Stanford crest. And I realized something. You don't have to scream to change the story. Sometimes the loudest thing in the room is a girl holding her head high and a mother who taught her how. And that's our story. If you've ever been made to feel small, overlooked, or like someone else got to write your ending, I hope this reminded you that you hold the pen. That strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it stands quietly, tells the truth, and lets the silence do the rest. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something, please give it a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your own story, or even just a word of encouragement for other parents, daughters, or anyone who's been through something similar. And if you want more real, raw, and honest stories like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell so you never miss what comes next. Thanks for being here. We'll talk again soon.